What other schools have the most to gain by leaving their current conferences to join higher revenue generating conferences? Perhaps, and then he just lists USC, Oregon, Clemson, Notre Dame, Florida State, Oklahoma State, from Modesto, California. That's where he's checking in from. And the hashtag Pate State there. We appreciate that. There were a lot of teams listed there. So we're talking here about the future, obviously, and Antonio is speculating that we may have some more conference expansion coming. And I agree with him. I think it would be foolish at this point, given just the recent history of college football, to look at what the SEC has done, look at what the Big 12 then just had to do, and to think, oh, all's well that ends well. I guess everyone's going to hit the freeze button, and their current lineup is the lineup they're going to stick with. That's not the case. And there have been, just in the last couple of months, some key indicators from some really public, front-facing officials on the front lines of this sort of thing that have indicated there's back-channeling happening right now. You know, there are conferences and there are teams reaching out to conferences that would love to move right now if they could. Well, I think he listed some very likely candidates. In other words, if I think it were opened up today, you know, USC, I think would love to have a more certain future. I think Oregon would love to have a more certain future. Several programs in the ACC, I think would love to have a more certain future. Now, there are things that stand in the way, more so on the ACC side of the fence than the Pac-12. But I think that, you know, when you look at the ACC and you've got that whole grant of rights deal and they're essentially locked in until the 2030s, everyone you talk to, and I feel this way too, they say something like this. They say, but they'll figure something out. You know, I don't think that they're just really going to be locked in there against their will that long. But then when you say, okay, what are they going to figure out? What do you mean? People are short on solutions there. They assume something will happen. And that's kind of where I am. I think if Clemson wants to go to the SEC, and if the SEC were to really want Clemson, I don't know that they're exploring that. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if both parties wanted that, I don't know how it would happen. I just think that they'd figure out a way for it to happen before 2036 or whenever that is. So I would look at schools out on the West Coast like Oregon and USC, and the reason I mention those two is because they are proven revenue producers themselves, and they would be adequate additions to any conference's inventory. And then also I would look at teams like Miami, teams like Florida State, North Carolina, Clemson, those kind of teams on the Atlantic coast side of things. And then with Notre Dame, the other interesting aspect here is how are they going to shape the future, by they I mean the big conferences, in terms of their TV deals, you know, because right now Notre Dame looks around and they have not needed to join a conference. But when you look at the price tag that inclusion into some of these conferences is going to carry along with it, for instance, you know, if you're watching the clip we're going to put up on the YouTube channel, the SEC is going to give out around, and this is estimated, a $118 million per year stipend to every member institution just for being in the conference because of their new TV deal. Big Ten, over $100 million a year just for being in the Big Ten. How long does Notre Dame look at that and say to themselves, both conferences would take us tomorrow, but we're just going to willingly forego that? I don't know. I also think that the best shot you have ever had of kind of forcing Notre Dame into a conference has been exclude them from the playoff one year, not by rule, but by saying, well, it's neck and neck and you guys didn't win a conference, so you're not going to be in here because we value conference championships. I think that's always been the way to kind of force Notre Dame's hand there. But I think it's a good question. I think there are a number of institutions out there quietly looking to make a move while publicly they say, we're completely all in and we're happy with the way things are right now. Newsflash, no one is happy with the way things are right now.